my question was not supposed to be like that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Greetings. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to Eagle Your Voices Amplified. My name is Plot Mark and welcome to the program that brings you some of the amazing voices and creatives from Zimbabwe, but also Zimbabweans that are living and working in the creative space in the diaspora. And today we have the pleasure and honor to have one of the amazing creatives from Zimbabwe, V. Mukarati. Welcome to Eagle.
Thanks, Plus. It's a pleasure to be here, man.
Great, great. Let's take you back, V. Mukarati. Where did your journey start? How did you get into music?
It started like as a child, honestly. So it's kind of I don't know if I'd necessarily call it as much as like a journey or as it just was a part of my existence.
Mhm.
You know, like I was kind of already at the destination from when I was a child.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was kind of like I think I'm on the journey of like developing my musicality to reach the highest levels that I can reach, but the actual uh sort of journey to finding music there wasn't much of a journey to talk about. It was kind of like just as a kid, my brother and I, who's also a musician, Tinashe Mukarati, like he and I would sing at church even as kids, like kindergarten choir, and like play marimba in junior school,
Nice.
and then formally started you know learning instruments. I think I was about 9 or 10 when I started learning the clarinet, and that was with like private lessons in Mutare, where we lived at the time. And then yeah, and then it moved on to high school, and I went to Prince Edward, and they have a good music program at that
Yeah.
school. So it just kind of continued, and I started playing saxophone because before I played clarinet, and still singing, still playing marimba, still doing
Yeah.
like marching band and
Okay.
all these things. And then after high school, I did like A-level music. After high school, I sort of like started playing with Samu Tukudzi for a while, and then played with Jazz Invitation, I and then I moved to Kariba for about a year, which
Okay.
is where I lived at the time, and then I didn't do music for about a year, just trying to figure out my path, and I was like what 20 or something, and then I figured out that I wanted to do music, so I ended up going to university and studying music in Dublin, and then
Right.
came back to Zimbabwe and started working with my band, and had recorded and collaborated and done all these other projects with people in between. So it's just been like a whole lifetime of,
Wow. A whole lot,
of
a
music.
lifetime of music. And
Yeah.
uh, tell me about some of the highlights of your career. I know you've performed at so many festivals. You've been part of so many projects, so many bands.
Mm.
What would you term as has been one of the major highlights of your career so
Uh, wow. Okay. Well, there's been a lot of highs, a lot of highs. I guess most recently, one of the highlights was when I released my new EP, that just came out in August this year, and it um it got listed by Bandcamp.com as like one of
far?
the
Wow.
essential uh sort of releases,
Yes.
and like they called it like one of the most exciting and beautiful jazz debuts,
Wow.
of the year. So that was a pretty big deal. Like when you have a platform that's as influential and is established and as big as Bandcamp saying that about your work, like it's really exciting. So I think that was really, really cool. And then another highlight was um in 2018. So like I released my first album in 2017, and then we made like a music video, Nana Kombo Chafika and
Ah,
Bongani
okay.
Kumbula
Yes.
and Verseless. Verseless,
Yes, I
he's a
know
producer
Restless. He's an
and
amazing producer.
amazing producer, and like and also Helen Teed, where she's like painting me, and it was very artsy, kind of like
And this is the
really we
video that
just
won an award, right?
exactly. That's
Now,
the thing, that it was like we made this thing in like a day. Like we shot the whole video in a day, and I had this idea, and I directed the video, and Versace helped a lot, and Combo, and all the people that I was working with are all visual artists, and I'm not a visual artist. Like I'm more like audio stuff and blah blah blah. And I'd never really worked with video like that before. And
Yes.
then so we finished the day of shooting. I'm cold because like I've been getting painted for like 4 hours straight with like a cold brush and cold paint all over my body, and like I'm just like freezing. And we've collected all the files from the cameras, and they're on the
Yes.
computer. And then Combo goes like, so who's gonna edit this? Like who's gonna we've got all this footage. Who's gonna edit it? And I was like, what's editing? So I mean, of course I knew what editing was, but like from the audio context, I'd never done it from the video context. And so I was like, oh damn, I need to find an editor. And it was the files were so scattered that I'm the only one who knew how to put
What
them
was
together.
that?
So
Yeah.
I went on YouTube and I started learning how to edit. And I spent like a week just learning how to edit. And I got like Premiere Pro, Adobe, and
Wow.
got familiar with that program, blah, blah. And then I started editing the video.
Wow.
And then we ended up finishing the video. And then it won a NAMA.
Man, you edited the video.
Yeah, I was like, what the? Because I mean, like it was several months later, right? Because the video came out in like August, and then
Yeah.
the awards are only like in February, and you get nominations come out in I think January or something. So it's like I'd almost forgotten about it, and even like you have to do these submissions, and I do submissions every
Yes.
year of anything I've worked on, so it wasn't even. I don't know. It was just like one of those moments where it was like getting the nomination in the first place was like what?
Yeah, big
Like
thing.
what?
Yeah.
What? And then we won, and I was like, what? And it was on my birthday. It was on my 30th birthday. That same night that the awards were happening. So I went to the awards, and then before the awards, I'd gone to like a lunch, and then had the start of a party, and
Yes.
then went and then won the award, and they came back, and we just partied the whole night. And that's how that was like my 30th birthday present from
Wow.
like the art gods. So
I'm
um
totally blown away because, like just yesterday, I was having a conversation online talking about giving excuses and telling people how Earground is literally run from a mobile phone,
yeah,
and people are reacting. And I'm thinking, you went on YouTube, you learned how to edit, you edited your own video, and it won an award. I would not
yeah.
have the slightest of a clue. I mean, that's quite impressive. You know,
Thanks, man. Yeah, it
wow.
was wild. It was wild. I mean, a lot of the things that I'm working with and working on now is just like self-improvement, and I want to be like a one-man powerhouse basically.
Yeah,
So since that experience, that was a very, very uh formative experience, that learning how to edit and then getting the rewards from that work and from those hours, because even the editing process took me a very long time. and
yeah,
and when I watch the video now, knowing what I know now, like 3 years later,
yeah. You're
there's
like, I
things
could
that
have
I'm
done
like,
it better.
ah, come on, rookie mistake, that kind of thing. Um, so I've been trying to just like teach myself as many different skills as possible. Um, and it all kind of came from the recording of my first album, Nyamavuvu Night Sounds. I
Yes,
recorded that album at home. I wanted to understand the recording process because I've always been like a musician who goes into a studio,
and you record.
like, and I record because there's an engineer there, someone else is doing everything, and they do whatever they do, and then a few months later, like the music comes out. And so I didn't know exactly what is happening behind that booth, behind the screen, like what programs they're using, and then I got into this very curious point where I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know what I'm paying for. Like if I'm going into studio and I'm doing something, I want to know what I'm paying for. And so I started learning how to record, how to set up microphones, asking questions to my sound engineer friends, going on YouTube again, the University of YouTube. I am a graduate of
Sure.
the University of YouTube,
Same
man.
as me.
Like,
Everything, much of the stuff that I've learned in terms of just making videos and stuff, It's all on
Yeah,
YouTube.
it's
They're
all
learning.
YouTube. It's all there. So I watched a ton of videos, asked a lot of questions. Obviously, it helps that there are a lot of people that are close to me that work in different arts fields of the arts. So if I had
Yes.
questions about video, I'd go to like Combo, I'd go to Bongani, I'd go or photography, I'd go to Bongani.
Yeah.
Like
And these are
you know,
amazing creatives.
the amazing
Really, really
creatives,
good.
and
Amazing.
there are people, yeah, and we lived together, like we shared a house.
Oh, wow.
So at the time, yeah, 3 years ago, was it 4 years ago, at the time while this was happening, while I was
Yeah.
working on this like recording, we were all sharing a house. And so it was literally just like
A house
this
of creatives.
very, very powerful community where you could just like, if you have a question about something, you'll just get out of your room and go into the next room and ask it, and the person you're asking is one of the most qualified individuals to answer that question in the country. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. It's been that continuous journey, and even now with like the EP that I just released, I produced it, I
Yes.
recorded the whole thing. I kind of also knew where to go, like in terms of like which studios I wanted to use in Zimbabwe, which studios I wanted to use in Europe, like which engineers I wanted to work with, because now asking someone to do the work for you is even easier, because you're not just coming from a place of like, oh, I've
Oh,
heard what you've done before. It's like, no,
yes.
I know what you're doing,
I
and I
know it.
know that you're
Yes.
good. I know that you're good at this thing. So um yeah, so it's been cool, man. It's
Great,
yeah.
great. But we're going to talk a bit about your EP. But uh,
Mhm.
what's quite interesting is that you have so many jackets that you're wearing now. You're not just the musician who just takes up the mic and sings. You play instruments, you produce material, and you do so much. And I'm thinking there are a lot of artists that I find, say, in Zimbabwe, in the context of Zimbabwe, without like generalizing, that have also managed to master that. But there's also the bigger community where their only artistic capabilities is just singing and nothing
Mm.
else. And why? What would you say to an artist today in terms of the need to just multitask, to learn different skills, to be versatile with just different abilities?
Yeah. I think it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial to have as many caps, like to wear as many caps as you can. Um, because the more caps you wear, the more opportunities. So like with what I've been doing, or with trying to learn as many different skills as possible, is that it's come from a place of necessity, really, where, like I mentioned that story of like we got to the end of the video shoot, and someone was like, "Hey,
Yes,
who's gonna edit this?" It's been
yes,
kind of like that, where it's kind of like I've been working on things and I want to see like a certain result, and I get stuck and I'm like, "Oh, wait, I don't know anyone who can do this," or I need this done by such and such a time, and there's just I don't know anyone, or it's too expensive to get someone else to do it, or it's whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm an able-bodied person. Why can't I just
yes,
like learn it and then practice and practice and practice, and then see what can come out? Because ultimately now where I'm at is like, if I'm not able to like play my instrument, I can still sing. If I'm not able to sing, I can still edit. If I'm not able to edit, I can still be like a cinematographer. I can still direct. I can still do photography. I can still like do sound engineering. I can
yes,
master like, color grading, all these different like skills that over the
mhm,
years I've sort of been building slowly, slowly. It's now things that I can now like individually like pursue as
that's
as as individual careers. So in my year, I can have like, the first 3 months of like working on actual recording an album, and then the next few months of like mixing it, and then the next few months of like working on a video, and then da da da, and then also uh learning about like social media marketing, learning about
yes,
PR, and like the relationships that you want to build with like journalists, relationships you want to build with media people, with the radio
Yes.
stations, with TV, and the sort of diplomatic cap you also have to wear when you're
Yes.
wearing with like when you're playing when you're working with other people, working with other musicians in a project with a lot
True.
of people, like this last project had a lot of people from different countries. You also have to be like a human resources manager, you know,
True.
like so. I think if you have any intention of finding success in this industry as an
Yes.
independent artist, like you just have to wear a lot of different caps because if you're not backed by a big label, if you're not backed by an organization or like by someone who's just like throwing money at you,
Yes.
then you have to do a lot of these things on your own, and it's really, really valuable. And you know, I'm aware that not everyone has the time or the energy or the uh the inclination to do all these things, but I'm just saying like in the event that you don't have uh the those things working for you, it's like you
Yes.
said that there's like no excuses. um
True.
it's very, very hard. It's very hard work. It's a lot of work. It's really like sleepless nights. It's frustrating. It's time consuming, and it's slow progress. But if you do it, the years will go by very quickly, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh wait, I can do this now.
I could have done this. Yeah. True.
Yeah. So I think it's really important for people to be able to do a lot of different things in this industry, man. It's just like, yeah.
Great.
Also,
Great.
it means
Let's
that you
talk.
can't get ripped off. It
Exactly,
means you
because
can't
you
get
know
ripped off.
what will be
You know
going
what's going
through and
on.
what is
Yeah,
to be done. True, true.
exactly. Yeah,
Let's talk about your EP, your current project.
yeah,
Um, you have said you worked with so many artists on that project. Can you give
yeah.
us just an insight into the EP?
Sure. So the EP is like 6 tracks that I composed and produced, and it was kind of like the main idea that I was trying to sort of encapsulate was when I play my music in Zimbabwe
Yes.
with the band there, and I've been collaborating a lot with Othno Mango Mamoyo and Music According to
Amazing
Percussion, that kind of
artist.
vibe.
Yes.
And but I've got my core band in Zimbabwe, which was made up of Nicolas Nare on the keyboards and
Oh, okay.
um, Bridges Chimanga on the drums.
Yes, brilliant. Oh,
And
the drum. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So and then Mangoma comes in. Mangoma is just like a force. He's like a spirit
He
that
is. He is a
whenever
spirit.
he's a spirit. Like whenever he passes through a project, it's going to be
It is
elevated.
going to.
Whenever he
He is.
touches anything, it's just like he comes with so much wisdom and so much grace and talent. So it was kind of like um the sound that I had coming out of that band when they play my music, and then juxtaposed to the sound that I have when I play with my band here. I'm in Geneva, in Switzerland. So like I've got a band
Yes.
here with like a cello player, a keyboard player, a pianist as well, and like and a drummer. So it's like a quartet with me on voice
Okay.
and sax. And those two sounds are totally different. It's the same songs. I'm the same like person at the front. I'm the same person who's
Yes.
writing the songs, same person who's producing them, but the sounds are totally different. And what I was trying to do was to find a middle ground where I could unite the two sounds to create something that's just like a big sound.
Yeah.
So I went to Zimbabwe in November and I
Yeah.
spent a few weeks there recording with Mangoma and Nick and Melody Mutembo, and she was singing my backing vocals, and we did it cool Studio DS. I don't know if you know DS.
Oh
Is
yeah,
like
DS. I know DS
yeah,
from
exactly.
Mobip.
And so yeah, we recorded at this studio, recorded all the mbira, balafon, ngoma, dresses like zvokumusha, zvokumba that you won't find in Geneva. And then I came back.
Interesting because you see a lot of a good number of artists now they're trying to run away from that. But you are very particular. You're mentioning inclusion of traditional Zimbabwean sounds or sounds from Zimbabwean instruments that you don't find elsewhere, you know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I was one of those people who I guess just as a matter of my musical journey, like my music education journey, I learned a lot of Western music. And I learned the clarinet. I played in youth orchestras. I played in jazz bands. Learned the saxophone. Saxophone is my main instrument, and marimba was like the closest that I got to playing my traditional instruments. And marimba, like the marimba bands that I've been in, like in my life, were amazing. Like it was just like there's nothing like it, right? And unfortunately, I was also in an environment where, like, my own parents, who have been the most supportive people in terms of
Right.
like providing instruments and providing opportunities for myself and my brother and my sister to learn whatever we want. In this case, music. My parents were against the notion of us learning the mbira, you
Oh,
know,
okay, because
because
of
of this whole thing
religion.
ukuthi ndezvevadzimu
This
tiri
is actually,
ma-Christians, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But
yeah,
dude, it is such a beautiful instrument. It's
it
such
is.
a beautiful, it's like the
I've been
most,
learning for days now.
like it's the most beautiful instrument in the world. Like anything can be used for anything, you know. So
True,
it's like
true.
your intention for something. If I want in indogono totora saxophone iyo ndoenda nayo kunoita zvechivanhu, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because it's
true,
all
true.
about it's all about your intent. If your intent with something is to do zvechivanhu and kuroya and do whatever, then go for it. But then the other thing is that, like, the context of Mbira music is misunderstood even by our own people. Because as
True.
soon as you start doing the research, as soon as you start learning about our traditional religions, about our history, about the rituals, about all that stuff, a lot of it is actually based in like fundamental like truths like love and care and compassion
True,
and
true.
healing and it's just a lot of these things were demonized by by colonization. They were demonized by Christianity, you know, and it's unfair. And so you have entire generation, if not 2 or 3 generations of people
Yeah,
who now look at like instruments like Nambira, Guitange, you know, like they're inferior, like they're like less than, or they're inadequate.
yes.
And what I realized after a while was like, no, dude, like this is something special, and we as like the contemporary African musicians have to embrace this, because when we go out there, like when we come out to, like, you know, Europe or the West or the East even, if I
Yes.
go to India, I'm never going to play a tabla better than someone in India.
Better than
I'm
someone
never,
from the
you know, it's just impossible. I'm never gonna be able to play like New Orleans jazz better than someone from New Orleans. I'm never
right.
gonna be able to play like the didgeridoo as better than like someone who's like an Aboriginal native
Yes.
in Australia.
Right.
So if I'm coming and I'm living in Europe, I also am not going to be able to play like European jazz the way that Europeans play European jazz, or like Scandinavian jazz when I go to Norway or whatever. It's like there's every culture and every people have their own thing. And our thing is the mbira. Our thing is rhythm. Our thing ingoma, you know?
Mm,
And kuyimba, like
yes.
those layered voices, those multiple like rhythms and blah blah blah. That is our thing. That's the kind of thing. Mono Mukundu said it at some point in an interview. I was watching him, like
Yeah. And
he was in an
happy
interview.
birthday to him. He
Happy
just turned
birthday. Yeah, it's his
50
birthday.
today.
He's turned 50. Um, and I'm a huge fan of that man, because like he has been preaching the gospel
True.
of embracing your tradition. And I think it's something that he learned from working with Oliver Mtukudzi,
Whatever to
and
consider.
seeing how when he traveled the world, when they traveled together, hapana anokwanisa kukuudza kuti wakanganisa chinhu chekumba kwako.
True.
You know what I'm
Even if
saying?
you play it wrong, I remember when I got my Mbira, I
Yeah,
was thinking, I was like, look, you know what? I might not be perfect. It will take me time to learn.
yeah,
But at some point, I can start playing and even go somewhere and teach. And people will
exactly.
not know if I'm teaching the wrong thing. And I can just
You
play,
don't know.
and people
You
will be
don't.
dancing. They think I'm playing the right thing because they have no idea.
Exactly. It's my thing. It's my thing. And also, it means that I have a different level of ownership toward it because
True.
even if it is like wrong, if it's something that is speaking to you and it's a work of art that's speaking to you, then that means it's not wrong. Then that means it is correct. You know,
True. True.
it means that I'm creating something that is touching someone's soul in any in whatever way. And that's what art is. That's what we're trying to achieve as artists, right?
Yes.
So I really at the moment have been on this journey like for the past, I don't know, almost 10 years now of really, really trying to embrace our culture and learn as much as possible. And Mangoma, as a friend and as a colleague, has been a really big part of that. And
Yes. And how has been the reception outside? Because we hear people talking about going international. I want to go international. So the Gazarach vintage sound, this is international sound. And then when you listen to the sound, it's at most borrowed sound. But you're insisting on like tapping into our roots, tapping into our traditional
mhm,
sound.
mhm.
Uh, what appeals to the international community when you're performing for non-Zimbabweans, when you're touring? What have you found is the most appreciated thing from music about Zimbabwe?
I think it's this goes for not just music from Zimbabwe. This
Mhm.
goes for art in general. It goes for music, it goes for visual arts, it goes for dance, it goes for everything. People, the audience is constantly looking for truth.
Mhm.
The audience can tell if you're lying. The audience can tell if you're not authentic. The audience can tell if you're not genuine. If you go and perform for an audience and you give them your truth and you make yourself vulnerable and you pour everything out on that stage, everything that you have in whatever language, in whatever like iteration of the art form that you're performing, the reception will be amazing if it's true. That's all it is.
That's deep.
That's all it is. So it doesn't matter kuti uri kuimba nechishona or in English kana kuti ngesindebele or whatever, that kind of thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter in French or if you've seen it as well. Like if you as a member of an audience and you go to like another country or even when we're like in Harare and Haifa would happen, right?
Yes.
You'd have all these artists coming from different parts of the world. And I promise you, there's some performances that you would see Ko Haifa that you still remember to this day because that person, even if vakabva nyangwe ku Mali or ku Finland or Germany or
Yes.
whatever, if they performed with truth and honesty and vulnerability and they gave it to you and you managed to feel some kind of empathy toward them and some kind of connection, then that's all that matters. And I think my mission with performing now, like in this part of the world and living in this part of the world, is just to be as honest as I can. Is just to be as honest as I can every single time I go on stage, and the rest will take care of itself. The rest will take care of itself. And I promise you, this EP has been one of the most like enriching experiences that I've had in my life. Making this EP took 9 months to make between going to Zimbabwe, recording in Zimbabwe, coming back to Europe, recording with the musicians in Europe, and then COVID hitting, and then
Yes.
lockdown happening, and me still wanting to finish and asking. I ended up getting like a guitarist who's a Zimbabwean, Matt Greenwood, to record from Canada, just like we're doing now on Skype, talking about the music, sending him files. He sent me files back, and then another guitarist from Ireland talking about music, sending files back, and then we got it mixed in Italy, and it became this like all of a sudden became this like international collaboration between all these people, and it and we mixed it and we mastered it. Months and months came, and then started the rollout strategy, and like put it out, and the response has been like really humbling. Like it's really just been like, oh wow, like this is cool. It's something I can be proud of. It's something that I know, Kuti, even though I may not like end up top of the charts or all that stuff. I don't care about that stuff. To
Yes.
me, that stuff is bullshit. I really don't care about it. What I care about is that one day I know that my grandchild, my grandson or granddaughter, or my great grand niece or nephew
Yes.
is going to know that they had an ancestor, and and that ancestor's name was Mukarati, and this is what they made in 2020, and they'll
Wow.
listen to it, and I want them to go like, wow, granddad was a badass. This sounds really cool. I want them to get something from it. I want them to have like some kind of like feeling of like, I want the message to still get there. I want that truth to still exist when I'm gone. And that's why I'm doing this. Like all of the work that I'm trying to do, it's all about that truth, and that truth being perpetual and lasting beyond my lifetime. You know, yeah. So
Oh man, that's deep. The truth. I'm really moved. I'm moved to the core because it resonates with so many things that we're trying to do to say, look, how do we stay truthful at the same time creating stuff that is able to uh, get some traction or to make an impact.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Before we close the interview, I would definitely need to have a part two of this conversation.
Okay.
Uh, you have a very interesting, fascinating story. Your musical journey has been quite interesting. Um, I wanted to ask, you once mentioned something to do with the vinyl project that you're making. Uh,
Yeah.
but when I think of vinyls, I'm asking myself, do people still play vinyls? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm launching like a vinyl campaign. First of all, turns out people still do play vinyl quite a lot. And so I'm working with this company. It's a French company called Diggers Factory. And Diggers Factory, what they do is like they basically facilitate vinyl production
Okay.
for projects. So they look out for projects, right? So they're constantly on the lookout for interesting things that they might think that their audience would be keen on buying vinyls for, because they have a huge vinyl following. The entire shop is a vinyl store,
Okay.
online and in real life. I think they're based in Paris. And so when I released the EP, like one of the people from the company got in touch with me. I was like, hey, so we saw the EP on Bandcamp, blah, blah, that whole thing. The Bandcamp thing really put it in front of a lot of people's eyes.
Wow. Great.
So that was really, really great, like publicity. And they were like, we noticed that you don't have like a vinyl, and we've listened to the EP, and we think that it could be cool, like to have a vinyl. And I was like, yeah, but like making vinyl is expensive. It is extremely expensive. So we've got this vinyl campaign that will be launching in about a week, if not 2 weeks. And basically what it is that like we have a budget, we have a number of like vinyls that we want to make, and then we just kind of go for like 60 days, 2 months basically of just going like, if you have any money that you want to contribute to the production of this series of vinyls, then please just go for it. Like you can put like as little as $1 or as much as you want, and as soon as if you sort of contribute more than 20 euros,
Yes.
then your contribution means that you're automatically getting a vinyl when it comes out.
Ah,
You
great.
know what I'm saying? So if you don't have like the full 20 euros or whatever, it's cool. You can still give us like $5. You can give us like, a cup of
Yes, you can
coffee,
get the vinyl.
that sort of thing. But if you give us 20 euros or more, then you're not just contributing to the campaign of like getting us to get to the amount of money that we want to get to and make the 200 copies that I would like to make as the first print. You also automatically get it. We get your address, and that's including shipping. So, for 20 euros, you get a vinyl, and on the vinyl, it's going to have two remixes of the songs, of some of the songs that I'm not gonna say which ones because it's kind
Okay.
of like a secret. Um, two remixes that haven't been released anywhere else and will only be available on that
On the
vinyl.
vinyl.
And that's going to be the case for like several months. So like until the vinyl has shipped out and people have it in their hands, I'm not going to release those remixes. Like they're only going to be there. And then as time goes on, maybe next year, then we'll release them digitally. But
Wow.
so yeah, you're not just getting the EP, you're getting these exclusive remixes and all for like 20 euros
20 years.
or more, ideally more.
Wow, great, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I really appreciate it. It was awesome. It was great speaking to you. But like I
Cheers.
said, we'll definitely do a follow up to this.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot more that I wanted to ask, but I'm also happy that we managed to get some profound wisdom from you and a
Thanks.
lot of surprises that you shot a video and then you edited it,
Yeah.
which is and did 1 hour, which is quite mind.
Ridiculous.
It's impressive. Um, People that want to connect with you, how do they access you and how do they access your music?
Um, the best place is my website, vmukarati.com. If you go to
Great.
vmukarati.com,
Find everything there.
you'll find absolutely everything that I've made, and you can buy it directly from my website.
Okay.
And it's actually even better than buying my music from Apple Music or from anywhere else,
Okay,
because
great.
then I get like you're actually like buying it from me. Like if you
Okay.
go onto my website, so veemukarati.com, vmukarati.com, and then on social media, it's like at vmukarati on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything.
Facebook.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
At Vim Karate and vimkarate.com, get in touch with him. So
yeah.
thank you so much to everybody who's been watching. And it's great to hear from Vim Karate and about his new EP and the project that he's worked on. Um, and to Monom Kundu, happy birthday to you and
Happy
many
birthday, Mono.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So until next time, stay tuned. New Voices Amplify. My name is Plot Mark and I'm out. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon.
Thanks, Blood.
Thanks a lot, man.
Ciao.
Yeah.